Ohio State football just got some really big news courtesy of Rivals over at, or Adam Gorney over at Rivals, dropping some news for the weekend as Ohio State is set to play Penn State, but they're not just battling them on the football field, they're also battling them off the field for Kevin Brown, offensive line recruit in the 2026 class. He is from Harrisburg, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. He is the Rivals industry number 3 inside offensive lineman nationally and the number 68 recruit in the country. This is a player that Ohio State's been going after for a while. I'm going to go ahead and play his tape next to me here so you can check out his highlights while we talk about Kevin Brown and the situation that's going on. So obviously Kevin Brown, he is looking at Ohio State, and the news that is coming in is that he is most likely going to be visiting this weekend against Penn State. Now, this is big news because Kevin Brown is currently committed to Penn State, but he is checking out his options. Adam Gorney also reported that on Tuesday that Kevin Brown will be taking a visit to West Virginia. That is supposed to end on Wednesday, I believe he said, but Ohio State is in good position to have Kevin Brown come and visit for the Penn State game. Sometimes these game visits, you might get a reporter to say, yeah, he is coming or he should be coming. It's always kind of caveated with, he should be there type of deal because you just never know what might happen in these situations. Kevin Brown, as I said, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, has been committed to Penn State for over a year, but with the recent firing of James Franklin, he said that he needs to get out there and just continue to kind of look around. It really says something that he's not decommitted yet, so he is still committed to Penn State, but from what it sounds like Kevin Brown wants to have a backup option in case Penn State doesn't work out, whether that be he doesn't like who they hire, whether that be he doesn't like, if Phil Trotwine leaves or something. That's the Penn State offensive line coach. We don't know exactly what is going on in that situation, but what we do know is that the recruitment is open again for him to try and discover if another team is there for the possibility. Now, will that stick after the visit? Who knows? That's the big thing, and that's the pressure that Ohio State has on them. Ohio State does a very good job with their game day visits, and especially when you're facing the team that you are currently committed to on the field, there also could be a lot, kind of going against that team, not just with how you speak about them, but also what the player sees on the field as well. A lot of times these game day visit type of things, yes, it's to see the stadium, it's to see the fans, but if you can play a certain brand of football that player really likes. Look at LeVar Keys that just happened with Indiana. Earlier? I think I put out that video on Monday about him being predicted to go to Indiana. He still had a visit with Maryland left on the schedule, and he was already being predicted to go to Indiana. Kevin Brown might be coming into this and saying, well, I just want to see if I have a backup option if he does, in fact, come for the visit. But if Ohio State does well enough with their visit and they can show them, look, hey, go with the sure thing, right? Ryan Day is going to be here. This is a program that has been able to endure no matter who is the head coach that is hired. You could go to Penn State and they might hire a really, really good guy, i.e. Brian Hartline. Just talked about him on our last video over at the Big Ten Huddle. So go check that out. I'll link that one down in the description. But you might have a good situation over there at Penn State, but you could have a for sure better one here at Penn State. I'm not saying it is for sure, or at Ohio State. I'm not saying it is for sure. I'm just saying that would be the pitch that they would give him, right? But Kevin Brown is obviously very loyal to Penn State. A lot of players in this Penn State class have decommitted right after James Franklin was fired. They knew they didn't want to go there anymore, or they just felt like it was the right thing to do. Kevin Brown really seems like the type of guy who is just kind of in the wait and see mode. Right? What's going to happen? What do we want to do? What decisions do we want to make? It is surprising to me that it's Ohio State and West Virginia, but those are two schools that are obviously close in proximity to him, and Kevin Brown is somebody that wants to go in the proximity. But at the same time, this is not going to be an easy recruitment for Ohio State to pull away from Penn State. Kevin Brown is pretty much like the anchor of this class. He is the number one player that Penn State is getting. He is obviously 2026 recruit, and it's somebody that Penn State is going to desperately want to hang on to. And if you are paying attention to what's going on with Penn State behind the scenes right now, they're not just spending big money in their next head coach. Just talked about it with Chris. They might be spending up to 11, 12, maybe even $13 million on their next head coach, but they're going to be spending big money on players. And that was one of the frustrations with James Franklin, was that James Franklin was very loyal to his players. You can go over to Landon Tangwell. He did a very good job talking about this. If I can find that video, I'll link it down in the description as well. I want to make sure to give Landon some love and what he's doing over there. But basically what's going on is that, or what was going on was that James Franklin was very loyal to his players. He didn't want to move on from players like a Nicholas Singleton for other players. He didn't want to move on from his guys that he trusted or that had been with him for a long time. And a lot of times it was because not just that he trusted the player or that he liked the player, but he also didn't want to hurt the player's draft stock, especially if they came back for their next year at Penn State. And that's a big thing that Pat Kraft had a hard time with James Franklin, was that Pat Kraft wanted to get the most talented team. Now, there probably needs to be a mix of these two things, right? Because you can go out and you can get players like Texas A&M did when things first started, and it probably won't work out very well for you. But if you Sorry about that. That was weird. But if you go out and just get players like Texas A&M did and not really establish a culture or have a head coach, that's not going to work out very well for you. They spent a ton of money on that class, and those players never really developed, number one, and number two, none of them really stuck around at Texas A&M. They're in a much better situation now with Mike Elko, who does a good job of bringing in talent and also creating a culture with the team. But you can't just have culture and you can't just have talent. You have to have the two combined, and that is what the next head coach for Penn State is going to be so crucial for, and why I think it is so crucial for them to bring in somebody who knows that kind of stuff. But back to Ohio State, as this is an Ohio State video, that's the thing with Ohio State that is so attractive about them, is because they're already at that spot. They are not trying to hire a head coach to bring them there. Yes, Penn State is going to be somebody who puts a lot of money on the table, but from everything that we know about Kevin Brown, it doesn't sound like he's the type of guy that's just going to take the biggest offer. He's the type of guy that wants to go somewhere with good culture, with good coaches that are going to develop him, get him to the NFL, and he's also going to see a future there after his career is over. Being from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, that looks like a very easy thing to do, right? With Penn State, the reputation they have there in the state and everything else. But at Ohio State, that could be a bit more complicated with it being out of state. Still close in proximity, but overall, this is going to be a very interesting recruitment to find out more on. From, if you want my opinion, I think Kevin Brown is going to be there for that game. It's just one of those situations where you have to go out and try to see what's going on. A lot of times this language that the recruiting insiders use is just try to kind of, save them in case a student or a recruit decides on Saturday morning that they don't want to come, because these things are kind of fluid in the recruiting world. There really is no black and white. There's always kind of a gray area with stuff, especially with if a player is going to come or not, unless they get a tweet or something like that that says, I am for sure coming at this time, especially this behind the scenes type of stuff. Kind of makes it a little bit more iffy on what's going to go on. But I think Kevin Brown is going to be there for the Ohio State game. It's going to be an awesome opportunity for Ohio State to try and show him their culture, try to show him that he'll be well taken care of financially, and that my pitch, I guess the pitch I would assume they would use is, you don't know what's going to happen next at Penn State. You know what's going to happen here. Ryan Day is the man in charge. The culture has always been elite. The football hall has always been elite. Go with what you know, and we'll see if that pitch is going to be enough. So if you're an Ohio State football fan, like the video, help us out here at JR's Big Ten Football News, trying to drop recruiting insights, all different kinds of things to you guys. And then also our other channel, the Big Ten Huddle, where we talk much more about games and, have different guests and kind of go through the entire Big Ten there. This channel is much more focused on breaking news, team specific kind of stuff, and hope you all will enjoy that. So thank you so much for listening and watching. Like the video, subscribe, do all that good stuff. We appreciate it. Have a good one.